What's up, YouTube? This is Amisbro. This is episode number 37 for the anime review series, and tonight we are doing the third of 4 for the viewer requests. Both of these next requests, by the way, were from Derrick Ward, a.k.a. TheCompletionist. He's requested this and also Sir Magical Index. That will be the next one, which will start on Tuesday. So tonight we're looking at Venus Wars, one of his favorite movies. I wish I could say it was one of mine. That already kind of tells you where this review is going. But I'm going to say this, okay? There is a level of charm to it, especially if you look at the animation from the time period, which is 1989. The movie came out March 11th of that year. However, as we'll get into the story and everything, there was just something about this that did not click with me. But let's get into the story and maybe I'll be able to explain why. In the year 2003, a comet designated Apollon collides with the planet Venus and disperses much of the planet's atmosphere. As enough moisture form acidic seas and speeds up its rotation to give it a day that matches its year. This unlikely yet scientifically sound accident enables humanity to partially terraform Venus, sending the first manned ships in 2007 and begin colonizing in 2012. By the year 2089, Venus has a population in the millions and is divided into 2 separate nation states: the northern continent of Ishtar and the southern continent of Aphrodite. Susan Summers, a bubbly reporter from Earth, travels to Venus hoping to get a scoop on the military tensions that have arisen between the 2 nations. She arrives in the Aphrodonian capital of Iro shortly before the city is invaded by the forces of Ishtar, led by General Donner. Meanwhile, a brutal rollerball-esque, that's called Battle Bike, by the way, racing game is being held in a local stadium. One team, the Killer Commandos, is led by the hotshot Hiro Seno. The game is disrupted by the invasion, and the team quickly evacuates. Hiro's teammate Will picks up Sue on the way and takes her to the garage where the rest of the team is lying low. The invasion of Io is completed in one day, and the politicians, police, and press submit to Ishtar's authority. The city is put under martial law and a curfew imposed. Many of Io's citizens, including Hiro's girlfriend Maggie, try to pretend that nothing has changed since the invasion, but Donner's iron grip on the city is too tight to ignore. And yes, I just read 3 paragraphs in like 3.5 minutes. But the point stands. That actually sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? You have an invasion, you have people that have to begin an uprising, they're going to kick ass, and that's going to be your story for the entire movie, right? Not quite. For the first 43 minutes or so of the movie, it's relatively slow, plodding, and boring. Just to be perfectly brutally honest. It doesn't wow you, it doesn't thrill you, and it doesn't really get you engaged with the characters. Even when the invasion is going on and you're sitting there supposed to be going, oh shit, I sat there and went, alright, we got an invasion going on. Sweet. Because it's not like I haven't seen this type of storyline used before in actual series. The movie itself, just so we're clear, is 1 hour and 43 minutes. I swear to God, it felt like 3 hours. It felt like I was watching the fucking Titanic movie. The problem is, and there's a couple, okay? Because of the way the movie starts with the invasion, you're thinking Okay, so we have the invasion. It's gonna now the front line's gonna want to go and kick ass, and it's gonna be a back and forth for an hour and change, and we're gonna be mind blown engaged, right? Wrong. What we end up with is literally 43 minutes of what I felt like, in my personal opinion, was nothing, and then it eventually moved up. Cool! Well, by the time I got to where the kick-ass was supposed to happen, you have characters, one of them was, I believe, named Gary, who was trying to persuade the young men and women to not fight. And I'm sitting there going, and this is just me thinking, dude, I've sat here for 43 minutes, bored out of my fucking skull. Can you give me something to believe in? Keep in mind, this is literally at the 43-minute mark when I know I have an hour left to this. So as the movie's going on, and as all this is taking place, I was just sitting there thinking to myself, man, I've got to find some way to watch this and make it watchable for me. I couldn't do it though. I could do it with Attack on Titan. That was easy. Couldn't do it here. Fun fact, by the way, before I continue with the review, is Donner's Seiyu, Japanese voice actor, was the same one that played Prince Diamond in the original Sailor Moon R season. So there's an interesting connection for you. It's weird because Donner could be a convincing bad guy. And this war could have really made things interesting. I have a big problem though. They had an issue where somebody would be yapping to somebody. People would be yapping back and forth, but they wouldn't be given names. So you're trying to figure out who the people are. If I didn't have Mal, my anime list, open, I wouldn't know who any of the characters were because it took them forever to introduce them to me. They introduced Susan, and within like the first 3 minutes of the goddamn movie, somebody was stripping down to their skivvies to go somewhere. I'll bullshit you not, they had somebody basically stripping. Now, that wouldn't have bothered me if they actually showed a scene where Hiro had to strip down from his tighty whities. No. What they show is a scene where he's got a blanket wrapped around his waist, and when it falls off, you see him in his tighty whities and this red sleeveless shirt that has a collar, which I had no issue with the shirt, but it was just like, it's like, really? You know, way to be a little biased towards the male demographic there. I'm sorry, but that doesn't work for me. And before anybody says anything, that is something that I have criticized Cave Project for in the past. Just so we're clear. Alright? Not that I'm not going to watch the new K season, Return of Kings in October, but I'm just letting you know, yes, I've criticized that series for that, and yes, I still like it. The difference here is it's like the dude's in his tight. Almost every male character was in briefs at some point, and we got a woman stripping, taking her bra and panties off. Really? Anywho, that was the least of our problems, and here I ran it on for how long, right? So I'm watching the movie, like I said, and they were like I said, they would have that problem where they would introduce characters, and you wouldn't have any clue who they were. Hell, they introduced a male character. It was the father of one of the characters, and they did a gimmick where they wouldn't show his face when he first walked in. So you're trying to figure out who he is, even though you know it's the father, but you wonder, why wouldn't you show his face? You know, it's like, okay, he's a minor character, sweet, but you have to show him to us at some point. This is not like it's a series, it's a fucking movie. Show me the guy's face. They eventually do when, you know, he's looking for a hero who eventually skedaddles and gets the hell out of Dodge. Alright, fine. But then you get towards the end of the movie, and the end of the movie was a little underwhelming. There was one really cool scene. They did a race where Hero had to face one of the members of the Resistance, we'll call it. I don't know the exact name of it. And they had to race through a ravine. It was like 5 meters long. Or was it 5 miles long? One of the two. Anyway. And if Hero made it to the end, he was able to go home. If he didn't, he had to do what this guy said. The race was really, really, really cool, because it was done like a death race. Except nobody was going to die. That was awesome. The way they ended the movie, I think kind of sucked, to be honest. I will not spoil that for you. Watching this series, or watching this movie rather, was so weird, because they don't really introduce the characters as they're coming onto the screen. You don't really know if you're supposed to care about them, so the emotional attachment, which is one of the big things I always talk about, emotional investment, isn't really there to me. And so then the character development really doesn't matter, because you weren't really introduced properly to the character. Do you see what I'm talking about? If you're not introducing us to characters, and it's not like you have a big characters. I looked at it on my anime list. Compared to, say, Aldnoah Zero. Okay? Aldnoah Zero had a huge one, but there were characters in there that I could actually recite to you without looking at it. Udapri, okay, has a very, very concise list, because it's being based off of an anime game, a visual novel game. Yet, every one of those characters had a story that I gave a shit about. And we'll talk about this more next week when I have to do the final review for it. But every one of those characters, their story, their personality, everything was something that I could invest in during the course of this series. So a 24-minute series, or a 24-minute episode rather, in the series didn't feel like 24 minutes. This felt so long. By the time I got to the end, I'm sitting there going, well, so I heard that we were having a minor thunderstorm outside, but at the same time, I'm sitting there like, even if we didn't have it, I would have been checking out and been like, what, huh? Keep in mind that I've seen Little Nemo the Dream Master. Keep in mind that I've watched Kiki's Delivery Service. Keep in mind that I've watched Day War 11. Keep in mind that I've watched a number of movies. Okay? They all have done something that did not bore me and make me want to check my watch if I was wearing one. This one, I could not. I just couldn't get into it. And these are the detailed reasons why. Okay? I wanted to like this movie. But mind you, when I went into it blind. I knew nothing about it. And when I watched it from start to end, I couldn't do it. I got through the first half and I'm sitting there going, okay, maybe something can happen in the second half that'll make me really get into it, but I could not get invested. And I wanted to so bad. You have no idea. Nonetheless, the final review is, I can't recommend it. The animation was fine for its time period, and I have no issue with that. But the story actually sounded solid. The problem is the characters brought it down. The characters and the pacing of the story brought it to a point where I could not really get into it. And that was the problem I had. That was the big problem I had with it. So, I cannot recommend this to you. I'm sorry, Derrick. I love you like a brother, but nah, I couldn't do this one again. Even if I was bored enough to watch it again, I couldn't do it. But anyway, that is the review for this go around. The next one is A Certain Magical Index, which is also requested by Derrick Ward. We will be doing that beginning on Tuesday, if all goes well. You have a great night. I will talk to you again after Season 2 of A Certain Magical Index. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.